talk, we are going to discuss about the concept of Jiva or soul. And we would learn how soul is playing crucial role in attracting the karmic matter and how it is getting affected by this matter. All the physiological, anatomical, psychological, parapsychological, or biological or genetic changes which are taking place in our existence or in our body, they are mainly governed by the karmic impressions or karmic codes. But today, genetic science is explaining all those physiological or biological processes through genetic science. And that is also a very supportive concept or theory to understand the karma theory in a better way. Now, what is Jiva or soul? According to Jain philosophy, the entire universe is consisting of six basic substances, and those basic substances are the medium of motion, the medium of rest, space, time, matter, and soul. Technically, they all are known as the Dharmastikai, Adharmastikai, Akashastikai, Kal, Udgalastikai, and Jivastikai, respectively. So you have seen that among all the six substances, there is one element which is Jivastikai or Jiv, which is living or spiritual entity, and all other entities are non-living. So what is Jiv? What is the meaning of this particular term, especially in Indian philosophy and also in Jain philosophy? So Jiv is translated as Atman or soul. It is the entity which is associated with all the forms of life, whether they are microbes, bacteria, or any developed living entity. A living being has a soul and a body, but soul is always different from the body. The common people understand body as living entity, but body is a non-living and material entity which is devoid of consciousness. It is the soul which is non-material, spiritual, having consciousness, and making the body living. Primary identifying property of Jiv is consciousness. We distinguish Jiv from all non-Jiv or non-living entities on the basis of this main property, which is consciousness. All other material or non-material entities are devoid of consciousness. The material entities are having some material qualities like color, smell, and taste and touch. Jiva is eternal, it never dies. Jiva's involvement in the cycle of birth and death is beginningless. This cycle is due to karmas. And those karmas are attracted by the Jiva itself by its own right and wrong actions. Consciousness of soul manifests in two main ways: knowledge or analytical knowledge, and perception or synthetic knowledge. So these are the two main functions of consciousness which we see in the form of knowledge and perception. Now we would see that knowledge is the power of soul to know. Soul knows the self as well as all other objects of the world. Perception is the power of the soul to perceive whatever is in surrounding or anywhere in the universe. The other manifestations of consciousness are bliss and spiritual power. A pure soul has infinite knowledge, infinite perception, perfect bliss, and infinite spiritual power. So these are the four basic qualities which are mainly associated with the living entity or soul. Expression of these powers in a living being is obstructed by karmas. Here we can see the role of karmas in play, how it is playing the role to affect this qualities of soul or the powers of the soul. Whatever we are experiencing in the name of pains and pleasures, they are due to these karmic effect. Whatever in this particular talk, we are going to discuss about the Jiva or soul. Why it is so important? We know that soul is very closely connected with the karmas in its mundane state. Or we can say that karmas are always associated with self in its mundane state. Whatever physiological, biological, psychological, parapsychological, or biology, what we say, anatomical effects we find in any living entity, they are mainly caused by these karmas, and those karmas are attracted, or you can say we can say that created especially by the living entities. So until and unless we understand the concept of soul, we cannot understand how the karmas are created and how they are affecting the individual life. According to Jain philosophy, the whole world is consisting of 6 substances, and those substances are dharmastikai, adharmastikai, akashastikai, kal, udgalastikai, and jivastikai. And in English, we know all the 6 substances as the medium of motion, the medium of rest, space, time, matter, and soul. So among the 6, one is Jiva. Jiva is translated as Atman or soul. It is associated with all forms of life, whether it is microbe, whether it is very developed human being. A living being has a soul and body. Soul is different from the body. Soul is non-material, body is material. Primary identifying property of Jiva is consciousness, known as Chaitanya, and Udgal, which is known as matter, is devoid of consciousness, but has material qualities like color, smell, taste, and touch. Jiva, or we can say soul, is eternal, it never dies. Jiva's involvement in the cycle of birth and death is beginningless. It is very difficult to get the beginning time when these two elements, soul and body, get connected with each other. This cycle is due to karmas of Jiva. So we are understanding here that the soul is taking new birth because of its own karmas. Now we would see that the soul has the fundamental quality which is consciousness, and this consciousness is manifesting in two ways: knowledge or analytical knowledge, technically known as jnana, and perception or synthetic knowledge, technically known as darshan. So, knowledge is a kind of what I say, no, jnana, or you can say knowledge is the power of soul to know itself and also to know all other entities of the universe. Perception is the power of the soul to perceive the things which are existing in the universe. The other manifestations of consciousness are bliss and spiritual power. Now we would see that a pure soul has infinite knowledge, infinite perception, perfect bliss, and infinite spiritual power, while the mundane soul is having a fraction of all these infinite qualities. Expression of these powers in a mundane living being is obstructed by karma, and this is the reason that we are experiencing only a fraction of these infinite potentials which we all are having equally. The suffering, misery, and other experiences of the soul is due to karma. In the state of salvation, which is obtained when all the karmas are removed, the soul experiences its original qualities, which is infinite, everlasting, and unlimited. Soul occupies the space of the body. The same soul can enter the body of a fly or an elephant. So it is not that the soul of an elephant or ant is different from the soul of a human being. The same soul can enter into different bodies in different births. Now we would see that there are classifications of soul in Jain philosophy from various different angles. Here we would see that the minimum classification which is done in regard to the soul is that the soul is of two types. One is mundane and the other one is the liberated one. So the mundane is known as sansari souls and are divided into various categories, minimum in two categories. With mind, technically they are known as samanas or sangi, and without mind, amanas or asangi. Mind is an internal sense organ and does not come in contact directly with external object. Through the sense data, the mind analyzing about the external world. Physical mind is different from soul. It is made of certain material. So we have to understand here also that mind is not soul. It is a separate entity which is material and is used in thinking process. Physical, psychical mind is part of the soul in normal beings, but the physical mind is not the part of soul. It is made of material entities. So in this way, we have found that mind is of two types. One is psychical mind and the other one is the physical mind. So the physical mind is the part of matter, while the psychical mind is the part of soul. It is nothing but the soul which is involved in thinking process. Soul's endowed with mind have rationality, souls are also of two classes depending on their motion. So we can see that souls are of two types. One is called as thrust, it means mobile, and in this category we find the living beings who are having 2 to 5 senses. And the other category, which is known as immobile living beings, they are stable, they don't move from one place to another, and they are having only the one sense, which is touch. Now we would see that the immobile souls, though have only one sense, and that is touch, they are divided into 5 categories. And those 5 categories are recognized as natural elements in other Indian traditions. So here we can see the difference of the natural elements discussed in Jain perspective from that of the Hindu perspective. And the difference is that all the natural elements which are recognized in other traditions as non-living entity or material entity, while Jainism is considering them also as living entity. So we know that there are 5 basic such elements which are recognized as the natural elements, but they are also associated with some life force, and that's why they are also considered as living entities, and they come under the category of immobile souls. So what are those 5 types of natural elements which are living? So according to Jainism, there are earth, water, fire, air, and plants, which all are associated with the soul or with the life force, and that's why they all are living. So earth-bodied living beings are recognized in various forms. For example, quarry, diamond or coal in mines, stones, metals, or other things. Water-bodied living beings are recognized as water, dew, snow, fog, etc. Fire-bodied living beings are recognized as flames, lightning, meteors, or salamanders, etc. And air-bodied living beings, they are very tiny living beings, and they are found in the form of different airs. The gross vegetations souls are again of 2 types, and among those 2 types, the first one is called Pratyek Sharir. It means one soul in one body. For example, tree, in which we find that the whole tree is coming out of one seed. So tree is Pratyek Shariri, vegetation. There is some other category of vegetation in which we find Sadharan Sharir. It means many souls in one body. For example, carrots, garlics, onions, potato, and other roots and tubers. Consumption of these involve more violence. And this is the reason why Jain people avoid consuming all these root vegetables. Now we would see that these vegetations are recognized in 2 forms, gross and subtle ones. So the gross ones we are using, consuming, while the subtle ones are invisible to our senses, and they are also not of any use, especially for the living beings. So the subtle vegetations is recognized as Nigodha Jiva. Though there are all the five types of subtle living beings, but especially the subtle vegetation is recognized as nigodha, which is known as the primitive state of any living being. Almost all the living beings are coming out of that source and developing from that primitive state. So nigodha jeev, and they are also not known by senses because they are so subtle, we cannot see them with our naked eyes or even the instruments which are available today. They are found all over the universe and living in their own way. They are not dependent on any other external sources, but they are mainly governed by the nature or natural laws. Now we would see that the other category, which is known as mobile living beings or tras jivas, they are also classified according to number of senses and many other reasons. Now we would see that on the basis of the senses, we find four types of living beings under this category. The first one is known as Vindriya, it means two sensed living beings. These types of living beings are having only two senses and they are touch and taste. For example, worms, oysters, leeches, conches, they all are having just two senses. There are other living beings who are having three senses, for example, uh, bugs, leaves, ants, moth. These living beings are having three senses: touch, taste, and smell. There are other living beings who are having four senses, and they possess sense of touch, taste, smell, and vision. For example, bees, flies, mosquitoes, etc. Five sensed living beings possess sense of touch, taste, smell, vision, and hearing. These are of three kinds: aquatic animals like fish, crocodile, whale, etc. Terrestrial animals like cows, elephants, tigers, snakes, etc. And aerial animals like birds, bats, etc. Common five-sensed beings of all three kinds have mind. This is very important to learn, that all five-sensed living beings are not having mind, but who are taking birth from their parents or from eggs, they are especially having mind. So we should not underestimate the animals who are having five senses, that they are not having mind. Human beings are five-sensed beings with mind, but their mind is more developed than the minds of other five-sensed animals. Five-sensed beings with mind have a brain, and therefore, whether it is animal or whether it is human beings, they are understanding things, they are getting training by the trainers. It is because of their brain development. Pran is associated for life, and this is a subtle form of energy. Life cannot be supported without pran. All living beings have pran. So pran is a vital force that is also connected with living entity. Without life force, we cannot find such kind of energy in any living being. Now we would see that after learning the concept of soul, we should also know that what is the purpose of the soul to be as living entity or to have the consciousness. So goal of human life is liberation, and liberation from suffering, liberation from karmic bondage, liberation from attachment aversion, and liberation from the beginningless cycle of birth and death. So this is the main goal of human being, and Liberation means the liberation from the karmic bondage. So until and unless we understand what is the karma, we cannot understand even our goal of human life. Because to liberate from the karmic bondage is the main goal. And for that, to learn about the soul and to learn about the karma is really very important for everybody who is looking for that ultimate goal. Karmic bondage is caused by activities and suffering is caused mainly by violence. So this is the crux of our discussion of soul, that all the karmic baggages are being created by the activities of the living entities and not by the non-living entities. And these karmic baggages are the main cause, root cause of our suffering, and they are mainly caused by our violent activities. So until and unless we stop committing violence, we cannot be free from the suffering and we cannot realize our goal of life. Without being non-violent, one cannot live with peace and with others, and nor can progress in his life, nor can get rid of suffering, nor can realize authentic self. So now we have to understand that non-violence is also very important to know how we can get rid of the karmic packages and how we can achieve or attain our own authentic self, which is full of infinite knowledge, infinite perception, infinite bliss, and infinite energy. So, with this, I would like to conclude my discussion that karma and soul are closely connected with each other. It is the soul which is attracting the karmic packages or karmic material from the environment and also being affected by it. So, until and unless we understand this karmic theory, we cannot explain why someone or some soul is undergoing suffering and all different physiological, psychological, or biological changes, and how we can correct all those which are not good for the self. And this is why we have to learn about the concept of soul. With this, I stop my lecture here. If somebody has any questions, they can ask me in live discussion class or through email.